Hi book friends, welcome back. So this is actually my second time filming this video because it turns out that the first time I filmed it, none of the audio picked up from my mic. I really thought that was gonna be the start of my villain arc because if you have ever shot content before, you know how frustrating it is when it just does not work out and you have to refilm. You know, we're all learning here on this journey. With that said, we're gonna get into embossing 70 plus books on my shelf. But we're gonna start with some of my all-time favorite reads. These are books that have absolutely changed my life. They are 5+ star ratings. In my opinion, let's all just remember, book ratings are a personal thing. So in my opinion, these books are absolutely incredible and must read. The way that I look at books is that these are either like the most incredible stories I've ever read, or they've somehow altered my brain chemistry, or the vibes are just vibing so well that I will read these books again. I will read these books 1,000 times if I had to. That's how much I love them. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is my favorite book in the entire series. It's also my favorite movie. I absolutely love it. I love the Termit style, which is probably why in a lot of the fantasy books that I read now, they tend to have this trial aspect that I absolutely adore. Hunger Games is close to making this list, quite honestly. And you know, the more that I think about it, we're adding Hunger Games to the list because this book truly is the standard, and this series, again, absolutely love it. Would reread it multiple times. Every book in the series. But back to Goblet of Fire, I wish that the movies would have included more of the stories that are actually happening in this book, which I'm just gonna leave it at that because if you've never actually read the Harry Potter series, you'll understand what I'm talking about when you finally do. An obvious one, A Court of Mist and Fury. Sarah J. Maas and Akatar are what got me back into reading after I went years of not reading. This book and this entire series holds such a special place in my heart. The third book is actually a very close second for being my favorite book in the series, but obviously this one takes the cake. My favorite female main character is Aelin, so obviously Throne of Glass has to make this list. This entire series altered my brain chemistry. I understand that there are better fantasy series out there in terms of the magic system and the world building and everything else involved. But the way that this series made me feel, the way that it elicits so many emotions, I can't say enough good things about it. I absolutely love Throne of Glass, so sue me. One Dark Window was such a good read. I cannot believe I waited until last year to finally read this book. I highly recommend it to fantasy readers. I think the magic system is so interesting. The Nightmare might be one of my all-time favorite side book characters. Like, I just love his commentary throughout the entire book. Rachel Gillig is an auto-buy author for me now. I cannot wait for her new book coming out in May. I will be reading every single book that she publishes. Simple as that. Six of Crows is another duology I highly recommend. If you've ever seen Peaky Blinders and you absolutely love that show, you love the vibes that it gives off, Six of Crows is the book for you because the vibes in this book are very reminiscent of Peaky Blinders. This book is just under 500 pages and it makes you feel so many emotions. It's multi-point of view, which sometimes can be a little chaotic, but it works so well in this series. I read it for the first time last year and wish I would have read it sooner. I feel like you all did an injustice of not hyping this book up more for me to read. It was so good. I truly think about this all the time. A little out of fantasy, let's talk about The Nightingale. This is a book I will recommend every single time. If somebody's asking me for a book recommendation, if you're a newer reader getting into reading, you don't really know if you want to start with these massive fantasy series, The Nightingale is such a great historical fiction. The way that this book made me ugly sob on a Saturday night, sitting right here in this chair. My husband the next day was like, why are your eyes so puffy? This book did it. In a I'm so sad type of way, but also in a this is so incredible type of way. This entire story is so incredible and it's important to be told. This story follows two sisters throughout World War II. Just the different lives that they have to live and the things that they're put through. It just, I don't want to spoil it because I think that you need to go into this book and just feel everything that it's going to throw at you. Absolutely recommend this book. The Inheritance Cycle. Specifically this book, I think this is my favorite book in the entire series. The first book is Aragon. This book ignited my love for dragons. I've probably read this series 5+ times. I remember sitting outside reading in my backyard, just consuming this book, and as an adult, I've done the exact same thing. I highly recommend it for any fantasy reader. There's some thick books, and so just know that going in, there's a lot that's going on in the story. I can't say enough good things about this book. I was so happy when he released Murdoch at the end of 2023 and just continuing this story, but from a different perspective. If you love dragons, if you love higher fantasy, I highly recommend this. Now, let's finally emboss some books.
parents sent me some books from home that I remember loving growing up and that I want to actually have here in Washington because I don't live in Colorado anymore. My mom had sent me a bunch of books from home, the Hunger Games, my Aragon books, and while I was in Boston, I actually came across a note that my mom had wrote for me. Actually, I was want to cry because it's so sweet. I always hide stuff randomly in my books. This was actually like a really pleasant thing to come across, and I just want to share that with you all.
My hand definitely started to cramp near the end of embossing all of those books. If you've ever thought about personalizing your library a little bit more, I think an embosser is a great way to do that. They're also not that expensive. Or if you're just thinking about gifting a book lover in your life a cute gift, an embosser would be awesome. You know, despite the hand cramping, I now want to go buy some more books so I can do this. All right, that's it for now. Bye, book friends. Happy reading.